different ways to make a hook wheel. So this is going to be the definitive one. Lots of different styles and use. So just the general overview. In the centre, we've got a hub. We're going to like that. We've got our spokes, we've got our wood rim, and then we've got the iron band that holds it all together. So we like to start in the centre. So for our centre, we use a nice block of timber like this. We've found grey ironbark is the best timber, the timber of choice, but there are lots of other timbers you can use. Depends on what's available in your particular area. So it doesn't have to be grey ironbark, but we've found it to be the best. So you'll find a tree that's growing nice and straight, not leaning, it's got a nice symmetrical growth rate to it. Cut it down, you cut up to the length required, drill a hole through the centre, and then, depending on how big it is, you'll have to wait maybe 14 years for that timber to dry out. So once it's dry, then we can start creating our hub. So we want to create a nice hub shape like something along these lines here, that shape there. So we get our log, we just use basic hand tools to rough it out, early days. Then we'd put in a lathe, spin it to the shape we required. Then we need to put these holes in it, these rectangular holes in it. We call those mortises, they're for our tenons to go into of our spokes. So for our wheel, we want to do, for this particular one, it's got 14. So we'd have to get our geometry equipment out. We'd have to get our blank one. We'd have to mark out very carefully 14 evenly spaced rectangles. Once we've got that done, we'll have to get our chisel, and we use a special chisel called a bruz. We might use a brace to drill a few pilot holes into it first, but if you use this chisel, chisel in, chisel out our nice rectangular mortises. Once they're all done, we'll then put an iron band on the front, and you notice that's a bit bigger than the one that's on the rear, on the inside. This bigger one, it provides a bit of protection for your hub nut. So once that's all done, we want to move on to our spokes. And we could just get some big rectangular billets of timber and make sort of rectangular spokes. That'd be fine, it'd be good, strong and solid, but it does get a bit heavy, and unless you're into radial cubism, it's perhaps not as aesthetically pleasing to the eye as some other forms. So they actually came up with this shape here. You can see on the end there that it's egg-shaped. Call it an ovoid. That was the best compromise between weight and strength for this particular application. But to go from your rectangular billet to this spoke shape, you'd have to use something like, so you'd start off with a draw knife, you'd remove the bulk of the timber with that, then you might, for these long straight sections, you might just use a hand plane, and then to get into the finer details, you'd use something like a spoke shave, just to shave those little extra bits in. There, just shave it away. Look at this go. So, and you'll notice it's got this detail here. This is a bit thinner there, we call that the throat. That allows for a little bit of flexibility. It's a good way to wreck a mortise and tenon joint to wiggle it back and forth, but actually it works in here. So if we've got a bit of thickness here, hopefully that's going to flex and reduce the amount of wobble there. So you get longer life and it may be slightly smoother ride as you wheel it as well. So the next step is this part here, the tenon. And the tenon should just be a nice slip fit. So this way there shouldn't be significant pressure side to side. This way, you'll see the spoke's got a very subtle taper to it here. See that there? There's a similar taper to that that's inside the hub. But the one on the hub, it's actually a fraction tighter at the bottom. So as we hammer it in, there's two tapers that come together. But this bottom part, when you get to the bottom of the hole, it actually has to compress in. We have to mash it in. That did go in a little bit easy, but we have been outside the sun all day, so we might have got the calculation. There's quite a bit of shrinkage in the heat. But so that's, yeah, hammered in quite tight. That's really tight. You'll notice we've hammered in one spoke, we've left the mortise empty, we've hammered in a second spoke here. We go around doing every second one because they are a tight fit. If you just go one after the other, that tension can start to build up and it can actually start splaying the hub. We don't want to do that. We've been waiting 15 years for it to dry. We want to look after it. So every second spoke, we come through and we fill in the spaces. We finish up with this shape that we have here. We call this the wheel spider. The next thing we need to do is we need to put a wood rim on it. But to put the wood rim on, like it won't really go on. We need to put these little round bits on the end. So you can just see them here. We call those tangs. A tang is a round tenon. traditionally you'd start off with this tool here. We call that a spoke belt. We just pop that on there, and that will cut a little cone shape on the end. And that allows this to start. If you try to start that on a flat end, it just bounces around. Whereas like that, you can then cut in. You have to be very accurate though. You have to make sure you're going a nice straight line. You don't drop and move around. Hence we've got this wonderful machine here, a tank machine. We've had a bit of breakout there, so let's see great tipper. So we've had a bit of breakout on that one. That's another breakout. So once they're all cut, you've got to be very accurate. You've all got to be the same distance from the centre. Helps out for your circular wooden rim. Now circular wooden rim, like that, we get a large slab of timber. We'll mark out our shape that we require. Early days we cut out with hand tool. Later on we use a bandsaw. We cut out our shape. Next step is we'll hopper it up here. We'll mark where these tanks come through. We go to left, so they line up nicely there. And then we go to pop it on, and you can see it's not even close to fitting. But it fits so good here. I could cast aspersions on the workmanship, but not his fault. It doesn't fit because these are radiating out from the centre. The further you get away from the centre, the further apart they are. We measured here and try to put it away for 2 inches away. So to put it on, we're going to use these. They're called spoke dogs. So if any trucking people here, you know about dogging down your loads, about using leverage, you're just going to hook that on there with a little bit of force.